At the beginning of the story, we see a guy who was a terrifying contract killer. He was hiding out in an old warehouse, sitting in a chair fully prepped, waiting to take out his target. He sat in that chair all day long, keeping an eye on his target's house through the window. He was just waiting for the perfect moment. After waiting for 5 straight days and not seeing his target, he finally went out, using shopping as an excuse. After doing his shopping, he called his boss and explained the whole situation, saying he still hadn't even seen the target. Hearing this, the boss told him, "I don't know anything about that. Just finish the job as soon as you can and take your money." Hearing that, he replied, "I'm trying. I'll finish the job as fast as possible." So before heading back inside, he sat in front of the target's house for a while. He observed the people and the guards there very carefully. After checking out their daily routine, he went back to his hiding spot. And as usual, he started surveillance on the target's house again. He set up his gun and kept waiting for the target to show up. So spending the whole day like this, at night he brushed his teeth and then went to sleep. But he had an alarm set on his watch for every 10 minutes. And every 10 minutes he'd wake up and keep checking on his target's house. And right here, a little while later, he heard a noise. He saw that his target was entering the room with a dancer girl. He immediately picked up his gun and he kept his eyes on the target. The target still didn't know that someone had a gun pointed right at him. He told the girl to dance in front of him. Here, the killer thought that the moment his target sat down on the sofa, he would immediately take the shot. But right as he fired the shot, that dancer girl suddenly moved in front of the target, and the bullet hit her instead. The poor girl died right there. He tried to shoot again, but the guards had already closed the window. As a result, the killer missed his mark. Seeing his mission fail like this, the killer immediately put his gun into a sack, cleaned up the whole place thoroughly, and then fled from there. After that, he hopped on his electric scooter and set off to get away. To trick the police, he dropped some items on the road, and then he slipped away from there. After going some distance, he ditched the electric scooter too, and then he started moving forward on foot. Walking just like this, he threw his helmet into the river. Then he quickly went into a shop and headed to the bathroom. There, he washed his face and shaved off his beard. He changed his clothes and then cleaned the whole bathroom so that no evidence would remain. Next, he called for a car and went straight to the airport. Reaching the airport, he threw the gun into a dustbin, and then he stood in line to buy a plane ticket. While he was standing in line, he noticed a police dog looking right at him. Seeing this, he got pretty nervous, so he went to the bathroom again to clean himself up. After that, he stood in line once more, and using a fake identity named Felix Unger, he bought his visa and plane ticket. So now, while sitting on the plane, his boss called him again. His boss scolded him badly and said, "You ruined the whole job and just left. What did you do?" The man was furious at the killer. The killer got angry too, smashed the phone, and then sat back in his seat. Inside the plane, he noticed a strange-looking guy. And now, as soon as he got off the plane, he bought another ticket, but this time under a different new name. Then he saw that the strange guy was waiting there too. So he delayed his next plan for a few days. He got a hotel room and set up a trap on the door. He sat there holding a knife, completely on high alert, ready to kill anyone the moment they tried to come inside. But luckily, nothing much happened all night. Nobody came. So the next day, he boarded a plane and went back to his own country, the Dominican Republic. Reaching his own house, he spotted a man's shoe print and a burnt cigarette near the gate. Seeing all this, his suspicion grew even stronger that someone had definitely come here or was still around. So he immediately raised his gun and started running toward the house. Inside the house, he saw bloodstains and realized that someone had broken in. Then the killer called his girlfriend, and he found out that his girlfriend was hurt. So he rushed straight to the hospital, where he found his girlfriend lying there unconscious, in a coma. Her brother was right there with her. Her brother told him that 2 assassins had come, a man and a woman. They had broken into the house out of nowhere. Their real target was actually him, but when they couldn't find him, they attacked his girlfriend instead. The girl fought back hard against those killers and managed to save her life, but she was seriously injured. When she escaped and hid in a spot, she saw the 2 killers leaving the scene in a taxi with a green roof. After understanding the whole situation, the killer decided to stay by his girlfriend's side all night. A little while later, she regained consciousness and told him everything. She said those 2 killers had grabbed her and tortured her. They wanted to get information about him, but she endured all the pain and didn't tell them a single thing. Seeing the woman he loved in such a condition broke his heart, and he decided right then and there that he would get his revenge. So that very night, the killer went back home and dug out his box of hidden weapons. The next day, he took his car and started driving around the city, looking for that specific taxi the killers had used to escape. His girlfriend's brother had told him the taxi had a green roof, so he searched the entire city for a green roof taxi. But after searching all day and not finding it, he came up with a new idea. That night, he went straight to the taxi company's office and took the manager hostage. Then he logged into their computer and started looking for the address of the taxi driver who had helped those two killers get to his house. Once he got the driver's information, he grabbed the file and left. The next day, he waited outside the station for that taxi driver. As soon as the driver started his shift, the killer tailed him. Then, posing as a passenger, he hopped into the car. The poor driver had no idea what was about to happen to him. He was driving around the city with a terrifying killer sitting in his back seat. When the driver turned around to ask the killer something, he saw a gun in the man's hand. He was terrified. He thought it might just be some petty thief, so he took out his wallet and handed it over. But the killer showed zero interest in the loose change. He pressed the gun against the driver's head and asked, "Where did you drop off those two killers?" The driver just wanted to save his own life. So he kept his cool, tried hard to remember, and spilled everything. He said, "I picked those two up from a private airport and dropped them off at a house. Then I waited outside for them, and when they came back, they both looked pretty injured, but I didn't ask them anything. I dropped them back at the same private airport where I picked them up." Thinking a bit more, the driver added, "When those two came out of the house, one of them had a really bad injury on their leg, but I didn't ask any questions because they looked like big shots who use private airports, so I just dropped them off at the airport without saying a word." "Please don't kill me," the killer replied. "All right, take me to a quiet spot." The driver said, "I'll take you wherever you want to go. I'll tell you whatever you want to know. Just please don't kill me." But suddenly, the killer shot the driver dead. Then he just walked away from there. After that, the killer created another new identity. Using that, he bought a plane ticket and landed in New Orleans. There, he started hunting for the two assassins who had hurt his girlfriend. After reaching New Orleans, he rented a van and went to a secret storage unit to retrieve some guns and new identification cards. Then he switched the license plates on the van. He went to a cleaning company and got hired as a janitor. After registering with the company, they gave him some supplies. He took those supplies and went straight to his boss's company building. He figured that posing as a cleaner would be the perfect cover to get inside. While he was standing outside, he realized he needed a pass to get in, so he waited for the right opportunity. When a delivery truck arrived at the gate, an idea popped into his head. He pulled out his trash bin and started heading toward the door, acting like the bin was super heavy and he was struggling to lift it. Seeing this, the delivery guy assumed the man was hauling something heavy. He wondered how the guy would get his pass out, so without even knowing, he decided to help the killer. He used his own pass on the gate and even helped him start the elevator. Once inside, the killer kept up his janitor act, and a little while later, the delivery guy left. Then he pulled out his gun and barged straight into his boss's office. Inside, he found his boss's secretary. He held her hostage at gunpoint and forced her to tie up his boss. He threatened him, saying, "Tell me everything about those two killers right now." His boss was terrified and said, "I didn't have anything to do with this. I swear the client who paid is just really angry because the job wasn't finished. He probably sent goons to kill your girlfriend, or they might attack her. They wanted to kill you, but you weren't home, so the poor girl probably got caught in the mess. I had no hand in any of this." The boss also told the killer, "Why did you come back to the city? Change your identity quickly and disappear somewhere for a few years, so that client can't find you. If he finds you, he'll kill you for sure." But the killer didn't listen to a single word his boss said. He picked up a nail gun lying nearby and first fired it into the laptop. He glared at the boss, threatening him with his eyes. "If you don't talk, the next one goes right into your head." But for some strange reason, the boss still acted tough with the killer. Ignoring the threat, he said, "Get the hell out of here, you understand? I've already told you everything I know." Hearing this, the killer flew into a rage and suddenly fired a nail right into the boss's chest like a bullet. Then he pulled out his phone and said, "Tell me quickly who those two were who came to my house. Only then will I call an ambulance. Otherwise, you're gonna die right here." But before the old boss could say anything, the poor guy died right there. He didn't have time to give any information. Frustrated, the killer thought he should just kill the secretary too. What was the point of leaving a witness alive? But the secretary was smart. She quickly figured out his plan and offered him a deal. She said, "I know you're not going to leave me alive, but promise me you'll leave my body somewhere my family can easily find it, so they can at least claim my life insurance money. I'll be gone, but at least they can get some money." To make this happen, the secretary offered to give the killer two identities. Her only condition was that her kids get the insurance money. If he killed her and staged it as an accident, getting the money would be much easier. So the killer agreed to the secretary's deal. He untied her and let her go for the moment. Then, he wrapped up his boss's body tightly and stuffed it into that trash bin. After cleaning the office, he followed the secretary out. But as the two of them were heading towards the house, the secretary started begging for her life. She said, "I'll do whatever you say. Please spare my life." But the killer didn't listen to a word. When he went to open the garage, the secretary screamed and tried to run away, hoping someone would hear her. and come to save her, but nobody heard her. And now, the killer easily opened the garage and drove the car inside. Once inside, the secretary told him about the two killers. She even showed him a postcard that had the name of the person who ordered his death. So after getting this crucial information, the killer snapped the girl's neck and pushed her down the stairs so that people would think her death was just an accident, and so her kids could get the insurance money easily. Now he went to that storage unit and burned his boss's body too. Then he went to a bridge and scattered the remaining ashes into the wind so that no one could suspect him. He also thoroughly cleaned the van he rented that night, threw away the fake license plate, and the next day returned the van to the rental company. After that, he went straight to Florida to hunt down the two killers who had tortured his girlfriend. Once he got there, he made a plan. First, he'd take out the male killer. Then it would be the woman's turn. He started scoping out the man's house. There were some people playing with a dog outside. He recognized one of them immediately because the guy was walking with a slight limp. He spent the whole day waiting outside the house for the right moment. By evening, he saw the group heading to a casino, so he followed them and kept them under surveillance. Later that night, he went back to the killer's house. Around midnight, when the killer returned home alone, the plan for revenge kicked into gear the moment he stepped inside. But suddenly, the dog saw the killer and started barking. He quickly tossed the dog some food laced with sleeping pills so it would fall asleep easily. Once the dog was asleep, he broke into the house, but out of nowhere, the killer attacked him. It turned out the killer had already guessed that he would come for revenge, so a brutal fight broke out between the two of them. They kept attacking each other relentlessly, but eventually our guy started to get the upper hand. That's when the other guy pulled out a gun. But our killer quickly hid inside a room. From inside, he shouted, "John, I know your real name. Come on, kill me, destroy all the evidence." But John had already seen the killer's face, so he moved towards the room to finish him off. But our killer, being very clever, raised his gun and fired through the door. John was killed instantly on the spot. Hearing the gunshot, John's dog woke up and ran to save its owner. But by then, the killer had already slipped out of the house and locked the dog inside the garage. He lit a petrol bomb and threw it at the house, causing a massive explosion. That set the whole place on fire. Next, he went after the woman named Teresa, who had helped John torture his girlfriend. He quickly grabbed another fake ID, caught a flight, and landed in New York. As soon as he got there, he rented a car and drove straight to Teresa's house. He waited outside all day for the perfect moment. That night, he saw Teresa leaving her house and heading to a fancy restaurant. She was with a man. As soon as the man left the restaurant, our killer walked right in. Teresa recognized him the moment she saw him and realized he was there to kill her. Seeing this, she ordered a very expensive drink as if it were her last meal. Then she asked the killer, "Did you kill your boss?" Our killer simply nodded, "Yes." Then the woman took a sip of her drink and started saying, "I did everything according to my client's orders. They just paid me to do a job. I don't have any personal grudge against your girlfriend," she added. "I didn't even want to torture her. My plan was simple. I just came to kill you. But when we couldn't find you, my partner John started torturing your girlfriend. I tried really hard to stop him, but he just wouldn't listen." Even after hearing all this, the killer said, "Say whatever you want, but I'm not letting you go." Then Teresa started walking with the killer towards a quiet park, supposedly to settle who would walk away alive. While walking down some stairs, Teresa tripped and fell. She reached out her hand to the killer for help, but our killer didn't take her hand. Instead, he shot her. Teresa's lifeless body tumbled down the stairs. Actually, Teresa could have attacked him at any moment. She had a knife hidden in her hand. That's why the killer took her out right there. Anyway, the killer immediately left the park and caught a flight to Chicago. Now, his goal was to kill the client who had ordered the hit on him. He did a little research on the guy and found out he was a very wealthy man. That meant killing him was going to be pretty tough. So the killer waited outside the man's house for a long time, watching his every move. When the man drove out of the garage, the killer acted like he was just casually walking down the street. Seizing the opportunity, he slipped into the garage. But right then, he realized the door to the house was locked. So he took a picture of the lock on the door, and immediately he started researching how to crack that specific lock. He ordered a special cloning device just to open it. Next, he headed to the bank and transferred all his money to an overseas account under the name Jefferson. After handling the finances, he went to a local dealer to buy a gun. Once his cloning device finally arrived, he booked a gym session on the same floor where that client lived. He managed to swipe a worker pass from a janitor and made a copy of it. Using that fake card, he slipped into the building that very same day and quickly made his way straight to the client's room. But surprisingly, the client didn't even recognize him. He kept asking, "Who are you? How did you get in here?" The killer thought the guy was just pretending not to know him. So he pulled out the postcard the secretary gave him, the one with the client's name on it. Seeing the postcard, it suddenly clicked for the client. He realized, oh, this is the guy who failed to kill the first target. As soon as he remembered, he said, "I had nothing to do with this. When your mission failed, I just accepted it. I figured, hey, people make mistakes." He explained, "But your handler, your boss, he told me no. He said it was your fault and you needed to be punished. He demanded another $15,000 from me to have you killed and to wipe out all the evidence." It turned out the killer's boss was behind the whole thing. The boss was furious that a killer he trained had failed. Plus, he was terrified that if the killer stayed alive, the police might find him and eventually trace it back to the boss. That's why the boss had orchestrated the whole plan to have him killed. The client continued, "I didn't send those two assassins. Your boss forced me to pay for it." After listening to him for a while, the killer actually believed him. But before leaving, he warned the client never to reveal his identity to anyone. Terrified, the client nodded in agreement, and with that, our killer headed back home to the Dominican Republic. Back home, things were much better than before. His girlfriend had recovered quite a bit, and now he spent his time taking good care of her. By the end of the story, our killer left his life of crime behind. He started living just like a normal person with his girlfriend. And with that event, today's story comes to an end. Let me know in the comments how you liked it. I'm signing off for today.